Hello and welcome again to our reading of Thucydides selections from book 4, and we're up to chapter 27. This again is a slightly long chapter. In Athens, as they were perceiving in regard to their army that they were suffering distress and that food literally sails in to those in the island, they were despondent, and they had feared, this is a pluperfect from Didoica, and had feared lest the winter would overtake, so this is optative after this verb of fearing lest, would overtake their watch, their siege, their guard. Horontes, and seeing the comidane, the conveyance of provisions, so it's literally, and of the provisions, seeing the conveyance around the Peloponnesus would be impossible. So seeing that the conveyance of their provisions around the Peloponnesus would be impossible, that is, it's very impossible for them to get provisions to their men. Pylos is quite a long way, and you'd have to sail around the Peloponnesus, which would be difficult. At the same time, their men understood being in a desolate place, and not even in summer, it being possible, there's that hoios te aimi idiom, and saying that it would not be possible even in summer to send around sufficient things, so adequate supplies. Ton de Aphormon, now Aphormon here is a blockade, and the blockade not being about to be, so there could not, the blockade would not continue, and genitive absolute with the land being halimenon, without harbours. So the blockade will not continue because the land didn't have any harbours. And either the spone anentone tain fulacane, so either that if their blockade, so if they relaxed, this is from anhiami, if they let up, if they relaxed their blockade, the men, this is a future infinitive here, so it's literally would overcome their difficulties, they would get over it, so that overcome their difficulties, and hence escape, or they would ek plusesthai, they would sail out, future infinitive, with the boats which were bringing in the food for them, as they kept keeping watch for winter. So, or keeping a watch for winter, they would sail out in the boats which brought food to them. Panton de ephobunto malista, but of all things they feared most of all the Spartans, because they considered them being, having a certain strength, no longer to, so as they no longer negotiated with them. So they the Spartans held a certain strong position, and no longer did they negotiate with them. and they repented, they changed their mind. So they were sorry that they did not having accepted the truce, that they did not accept the truce. But Kleon, understanding their suspicion of them with regard to him, because of his hindrance of the agreement, of coming to an agreement, he said that those who were reporting back not to speak the true things, so they were not telling the truth. So perhaps fake news, says Kleon. Parai noontone der aphigmenon, but when those having arrived were giving advice, giving the advice that if they did not believe them, giving advice to the Athenians, that if the Athenians did not believe them, that they should send tinas kataskopus, well, certain scouts, perhaps inspectors or something, certain scouts or inspectors, and that he himself, that is Kleon, would be chosen, that he be chosen along with Diogenes by the Athenians as a scout or an inspector. And realizing that he will be compelled either literally to speak the same things, to say exactly what these other people were saying, but those to whom he was slandering, so to speak the same things as those he was slandering, or having spoken the opposite things, he would appear to be pseudes, to be false. He gave advice to the Athenians, seeing them, seeing that they also were literally moving in some way further in their opinion. So seeing that they were already moving some way further in their view, he advised them stratuane to mount a campaign, and that it, in regard to the scouts or inspectors, it was necessary not to send them. So that there was no need to send the inspectors, nor to delay, this is from Parahiemi, passing up the opportunity. But if it seemed that the things being reported were true, to sail against these men. And episemeinen, this is an interesting word here, he was alluding to Nicias, the son of Niceratus, who was a strategos, who was a general, being his enemy, being hostile to him, and epitimaon, and taunting him. So all of this, that it was radion, it was easy with preparation, with proper preparation, that if the strategoi, if the generals were true men, were Andres, were true men, having sailed, if they were true men, that they would take, having sailed, they would, this is parenthetical here, and so this is accusative and infinitive here. So it would be easy, with preparation, having sailed, to take the men in the island, and that he himself, indeed, don't forget the get here, if he were in charge, he would do to do this, to be able to do this, that he would do this. So Kleon is setting himself up here for some trouble, as we'll see in the next chapter.